Alright, Stampede family, another night of breaking day on these YT YouTube streets. Now I ain't even gonna hold y'all. When it comes to stream y'all, for me, it's like amateur night at the Apollo. In other words, humble beginnings, people, humble beginnings. So y'all gonna see a whole lot of bloops and blunders, pauses and losses, but it's all goody. It's called progression. The rules on the block goes like this. If you feel something I'm saying is cap, then hit your cap emoji. Then get it off your chest how you feel about the situation. If you feel the math is mathing, then hit one of them heart emojis to show your love for the content. With that being said, let's get to chefing up this content. So what we got on today's menu? Alright, so let's get into it. Did y'all know that Georgia had an explosion out there? Yeah, chemical explosion. Yep. About to give y'all the receipts real quick.
Right now, Atlanta emergency officials say that the wind is blowing those toxins in this direction. So Atlanta residents could start to see the haze and feel the effects of chlorine in the air starting tomorrow morning. Now, we spoke with a doctor who lives near that plant and says right now he is worried about how this exposure will impact people's health long term. It's been more than 3 days since a fire at a chemical plant in Conyers released billowing smoke and high levels of chlorine in the air. Since then, thousands of people across metro Atlanta have reported seeing and feeling the symptoms of exposure: irritated eyes, skin, or difficulty breathing.
After they made that announcement, I could swear my chest felt a little bit tighter than normal. Now, that might have been psychological, I'm not certain, but I'm very sensitive to toxins.
Now, the EPA and GEMA officials say the chemicals in the air are unlikely to harm most people. Dr. Cecil Bennett, a physician and Rockdale County resident, tells Fox 5 his concern now is how it will impact their health over time.
Chlorine gas is very toxic at high levels. I know I hear one thing today about the fact that we should not be concerned, but the actual manifestations of this exposure may not be an issue until months from now.
That's why he says it's crucial for anyone feeling symptoms to seek a medical professional and keep a record of that visit.
Make sure you document and you see a provider and there's a file of what symptoms you had and exactly what took place, just in case there's a complication later and further medical attention is needed, and someone has to be responsible for that.
Gotcha. That's someone very likely from the company that started it all. In a statement from BioLab, a spokesperson said, quote, "We have continued to make progress in mitigating the situation at our facility, and we deeply regret the impact of the incident on our community. Our executive leadership team is on the ground and engaging directly with local representatives and stakeholders on how we can best provide support." Now, right now, a petition to get this plant shut down has already gained more than 5,500 signatures at this point. We do know the EPA and GEMA will be providing an update on this situation tomorrow. But for now, Rockdale County remains under a shelter-in-place order from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. until Friday. That's the latest here live in Atlanta. Joy Dukes, Fox 5 News.
All right, Joy, thanks. There are several precautions the Georgia Emergency Management Agency is encouraging people to take. Limit your outdoor activities and stay inside away from the smoke. Keep indoor air as clean as possible. The elderly, children, and people with compromised immune systems should stay inside. If you've got asthma or another lung disease, follow your doctor's respiratory management plan.
So as y'all can see, it's real out there. And for those that don't know, Atlanta, Georgia is one of the biggest African American cities in America. And this has happened over and over again and again. And here are the receipts on that.
Disaster caused by that plant. This is not the first time. This is not the second time. This is not the third. We're tired of turning the cheek. Georgia is now fighting back against these two companies. Right now, our clients can't even be here at their own press conference because they are locked in their own home with no air, just like countless citizens in Rockdale County. And it ends today. This lawsuit hopefully will bring justice and make this company actually follow some of the safety precautions that they've known about for years. So I'm proud to be part of this group. I'm attorney Chris Stewart, along with my law partners, Justin Miller and Madeline Simmons. And we have Dan Flynn from DeCello Levitt, who will talk to you about the class action lawsuit.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Simmons, Miller, Stewart, for having me. Stewart, Miller, Simmons. This lawsuit is about protecting the rights of Rockdale County, protecting the rights of the surrounding county, the community that has been impacted by this catastrophe. And make no mistake, this is a catastrophic releases like this should not happen. Companies like BioLab have a duty and an obligation to make sure that they do not pollute the surrounding community. They do not render the air in the surrounding community so poisonous that people can't go outside their homes, that people have to evacuate, that people don't have the ability to enjoy their right to live, their right to go outside their houses, to breathe the air, to turn on their air conditioning units, to go to the grocery store, to go to school, to go to the doctor. Those rights have been taken away from the people of Rockdale County, from the people of Conyers, from the people of the surrounding communities. Those rights have been taken away by BioLab. Our lawsuit is here to protect the people from those rights. When people can't enjoy those rights, they are damaged. When people return to their homes and they have to repair, replace, clean up things, they are damaged. When people's property values drop because people know that there's a factory in town that repeatedly pollutes the town, they're damaged. And that's what our lawsuit is about. It's about reimbursing the citizens, the community for that damage. So thank you all for being here. I'm definitely honored to be part of this team. I wish we didn't have to take action like this, but when things like this happen, somebody needs to step in and protect the community. Thank you.
So come on, Stampede family. Y'all already know. But here go what a reporter had to say and what she brought to everybody's attention.
Quote, the numerous counts that we have in our complaint.
Chris, can you talk two things? Can you talk a little bit when you mentioned about the safety precautions that were continually ignored, one of the things you said, and then also can we talk a little bit about there's something called environmental racism, right? When you think about Flint, Michigan, and what happened there.
Environmental racism. That's the word right there. Environmental racism. That's when people who are racist use situations like this. This is how you contaminate black communities. Almost like a chemical attack on these black communities. Y'all heard her say the whole Flint, Michigan thing, and now she's talking about this right here, and she's asking about that. So let's hear what she got to say.
Do you know the racial composition of this area, the economic composition of this area? Do you think that has to do with the fact that this plant was even there in the first place? I know there are two different, two different questions, but if you can answer those, please.
Yeah, we don't right now, but I wouldn't be shocked. When I did work for the EPA, I mean, it's easy to see that lower income areas suffer a lot when companies like this are in your community. And I think that is why there's a lot of pushback, whether it's lower income black, lower income white. The neglected in our society are taken advantage of by large corporations all the time. It's putting profit over people. And the people that you can take advantage of don't have a voice, which is why lawyers like all of us get involved to speak for them. So we'll get to the bottom of it, but getting to how this could be prevented, it's insanity that this keeps happening. If you know you have something explosive in your facility and you know it can't get wet, and you look up and you see a sprinkler, you would think you would have that product covered properly or protected so that it doesn't explode. So that's why there's no justification for what happened. And it keeps happening at BioLab.
Do you think this could be Georgia's town, Michigan?
I don't want to go that far yet, but we're going to be monitoring to see just how far it's spreading. I mean, I got an alert in Atlanta today. So we're going to be monitoring the air patterns and how far this spreads. But it's not just Georgia. Look at the BioLab incidents in Louisiana and in other places. So it's an epidemic.
Can you talk about the gravity of the class action lawsuit? We know we have 2 officially filed, the release we got from y'all, but are you calling more to come forward? How many do you have right now, and how many are you expecting to join in this? Sounds like, again, a multiple agency attorney firm class lawsuit.
Sure. So our class is defined broadly to include everybody who's been subject to the evacuation and the shelter-in-place orders, and others who have been affected, and businesses who have been affected. So we've been fielding quite a few calls for from concerned citizens who either have not been able to return to their homes or can't even leave their homes, can't even turn on their AC units, things like that.
So to continue on with it is a scientist by the name of Scott Smith, an independent chemical tester. He tested pieces of styrofoam that fell 30 miles away from the explosion. Let's see some receipts on that.
I want to put things in perspective from the scientific team today, that it has been verified that at least 12 million pounds of chlorine compound has burned. Could be as high as 20 million. We don't.
12 million pounds. 12 million pounds of it. And it could be as high as 20 million pounds.
Don't know yet. East Palestine, as bad as it was 2 million pounds of chlorine compounds.
You hear that? East Palestine, as bad as that was, it was only 2 million pounds. 2. That's about 6 times worse that burned in the air.
Including vinyl chloride, PVC.
And in English, to dummies like me, what does that mean to the average person? 12
Here's
million.
what it means. The products of incomplete combustion, dioxins, and cancer-causing benzene compounds that are called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Jordan, we were both involved in this. I never thought there'd be an event that is now 6 times greater of chlorine compound burn. And it's worse than that. All these chlorine compounds were sitting on plastic pallets, and there was styrene and styrofoam in the building. And all of these compounds, when they burn, create dioxins and a whole host of other chemicals, irrespective of the phosgene and all the other gas. And this is from Shayna. Shayna was the first one. She reached out to me and tested. You see this right here? This is a retane. Yeah. This is what you see there. That's polystyrene. And this is picked up from her yard. This came basically right now 20 to 30 miles away. This was an invasion of.
It landed 20 to 30 miles away. 20 to 30 miles away, people. That's how far this traveled. And that's debris. So how far did the smoke travel if the debris went that far?
People's airspace. You see that, Ash? I kept a lot of extra, and this got delivered to the lab on Tuesday. That is the polystyrene or styrene foam. It is a scientific fact when that burns, it gives off dioxins. And unfortunately, the EPA said, we're only testing for asbestos. And there's no, well, of course there's no asbestos. And it just ties in, you can't find what you don't look for. Here.
So literally, they looking for asbestos and nothing else. And see, that wordplay is a mother, people, because then you could announce, well, we investigated and we didn't find anything. Of course you didn't find anything because you was looking for asbestos. See, you didn't let the people know about all the other stuff. Yo, why do we live in a society where everybody tries to cover it up? I mean, if something really happened and something really wrong going on, why we can't just let it be known that that's what's happening? Why we gotta sit up there, well, not we, but these people, and just downplay it all and make it like it didn't happen? I don't get that. Like, think about it. All these people be hollering, "Oh, I worship God and I go to church and I'm Christian and all this stuff." And I guarantee you it's them same people sitting there announcing this stuff like this. Why? Why you being so deceptive? If that company messed up, they messed up. Now they gotta handle that all that come with it. Why y'all trying to cover for them? See, that's the problem, yo. That's why everything have to change, man. It's getting worse and worse. That's crazy. But anyway, let's keep moving.
Here we go again. But there are signs, I want to say, I give credit, there are signs that EPA Region 4 might end up being more transparent. They're not testing for dioxins yet. There's a sign that they may work with me and my team instead of launching a smear campaign like EPA Region 5 did. So I want to believe in the best of people until they prove otherwise. So let's give EPA Region 4 a chance. And I'm not here to demonize the EPA. I only hold the EPA accountable when they start their smear campaigns or we catch them lying and deceiving. So
let me ask Shayna and Madeline before I get to Fatih the Street. Has there been much communication, like in Conyers, between Georgia's version of FEMA, the EPA, on A, what is in the air, B, what are they testing for? Madeline, you shook your head.
Yeah, I mean, it's a joke at this point. We've been asking the same questions again and again and again as a community. They know what our questions are and they will not answer them. Biolab has not spoken publicly once. They've got a couple things on their website which amount to absolutely no information. And Rockdale County, where we have been pressing aggressively for answers, and we've started a community page. We're trying to get organized to put that pressure on them. But to date, we had finally yesterday, they allowed for citizens to ask questions, and continually the chairman danced around those questions. The long list that one of them has been answered.
Why doesn't everyone between 45 and 65 claim the $250,000 life insurance policy? The number one reason is not about insurance claims, health conditions, or even politics. It's actually because most people just don't know that they can get.
Madeline, before I move on, I just want to ask you, have you had symptoms? Has your family had symptoms?
Yes, I live by myself with pets. Luckily, my pets here have been okay to date. I had to go to urgent care on Wednesday, started coughing severely, very short of breath all the way through. I've had, it's dissipated a little bit since then, but I've also had severe headaches on and off for the last several days, spouts of being lightheaded. My horse is located a little bit outside of the county, which I thought was a relief, and I wasn't overly panicked. He does have some pre-existing conditions, but today he started to worsen, and they are smelling chlorine over there, and I'm not to date sure if that's related or not.
And for you, Do you have asthma, or are these new symptoms? Or okay.
Yeah,
So
I perfectly healthy Sunday before this, or Saturday before this started. All of this has started since then. And
right.
I can note that while I was in urgent care, they were busting at the seams with all kinds of people, even though they're saying this would only relate to people with pre-existing conditions. That's not what I'm seeing. That's not been involved in talking a lot with the community, and that's not what I'm hearing.
And I'm going to make a quick guess that local reporters are not by the urgent care talking to people.
No, they're not.
Shocking.
And
go ahead.
if the air is so clean, like they saying it is, then why did it all of a sudden trigger me and one of my good friends' vehicles, the O2 sensor and our check engine lights came on?
Very important point, Shayna.
Fatih, tell me, how far do you live from this normally?
So right now I live in South Fulton, so it's like between the city and the airport, very close to Mercedes Stadium. And I just got over COVID like a couple weeks ago, and was going on my first like outing on Sunday, and then got hit by the smoke when we were out getting groceries in DeKalb County, because my partner, he works over there. And then throughout the week, my symptoms were worsening, and I saw the Georgia poison control number. Like, I've been informing people on my social medias, and so I called the number too. So, you know, I practice what you preach, and they told me to get with my PCP. So Wednesday, I went and saw her, and she said if my symptoms worsen, she said if my symptoms worsen to go to the ER, because they didn't have anything for chlorine gas exposure. So then Thursday, when I woke up, I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know if y'all even know this, but they released a PSA saying that Thursday morning, people in Fulton County would see haze and would smell chlorine.
Mm-hmm.
So that morning, when I woke up, my symptoms were so severe that I couldn't speak. And we immediately went to the ER. And then my partner, he had to go to work. And like 5 minutes after he left, I stopped breathing. And
So y'all hear that, right? Y'all hear that? So let's see what the long-term effects is with this breathing this gas.
Ken Landau, thanks for watching. Let's talk about chlorine gas. Chlorine is one of the top 10 compounds manufactured here in the United States. We make about 15 million tons every year. The rest of the world, about 45 million tons. It's manufactured in fewer than 20 states, which means it has to be transported, typically by train or by truck. And it's done through relatively highly populated areas, and unfortunately with relatively minimal security. It's relatively easy to manufacture chlorine gas. One takes a brine of salt and then adds some electric current. The chlorine gas itself is a yellowish green product at room temperature that's irritating and pungent. It has a smell that's a combination of, most people would say, pineapple and pepper. But if the gas is exposed to extreme cold, less than 30 degrees Fahrenheit, or at significant pressure, it turns into a liquid. Happens to be a clear amber-colored liquid, and that's the way it's stored. And it's also transported that way as a liquid in steel canisters. Now, it's non-flammable, but it's potentially explosive, especially when it's in contact with other kind of chemicals, certain acids or turpentine or ammonia. The chemical itself, the chlorine, is indispensable. We use it all the time as a commercial bleach, as a household bleach. It's used for the sanitation of wastes and sewage. It's also used as a disinfectant for our drinking water and for our swimming pools, but it's used in a lot of industries. So for instance, It's used in the manufacture of cloth and paper and plastics and pesticides. It's used in synthetic rubbers and solvents and a variety of chemical products. It's used in refrigerants and PVC production. It's also used in pharmaceuticals and in cosmetics. Toxicity seems to relate mostly to either industrial or occupational areas. Sometimes, unfortunately, some acid is added to it. That increases the potential for problems. Accidental spills offloading from railroads, and of course, deliberate poisoning. Now, each year, about 6,000 cases are reported to poison control centers. Typically in the home setting, it occurs when someone's cleaning a toilet bowl and adds an additional acid cleanser. Chlorine gas, when it's released, harms the individual exposed, but typically can't be passed to others.
Y'all hear that? He literally said it harms the individual that has been exposed. Literally said that. Let me hit it again.
Additional acid cleanser. Chlorine gas, when it's released, harms the individual exposed, but typically can't be passed to others. So a person who has chlorine gas toxicity is not really significantly likely to cause problems to a rescuer, except if the chlorine happens to be a liquid. Now, OSHA sets a limit of 1 part per million. They say if there are more than 10 parts per million, it's dangerous to your health and you should immediately leave the area. Now,
10 parts per million. Now, y'all just heard these people say, what, 12 million gallons of it was burned and the smoke released into the air?
Fortunately, chlorine gas has a pungent odor, so you know it's there even at a concentration as low as 0.1 to 0.3 parts per million. It irritates the mucous membranes a little bit. At 1 to 3 parts per million, if you're around it for a long enough period of time, say about an hour, but at a concentration of just 5 to 15 parts per million, it can be a significant irritant to the eyes and the nose, and it'll cause a cough. And this is the area that typically is where exposures occur at home. Now, a little bit higher, more likely industrial, at more than 30 parts per million, that's when significant respiratory distress and chest pain and shortness of breath and cough and airway constriction occur. You can even cough up blood.
And that's what y'all seen happen with Fatty the Street. That's what she was experiencing when she went to the hospital.
At 50 parts per million, fluid accumulates in your lung. We call it pulmonary edema. And then major toxicity at more than 400 parts per million, that would cause death within 30 minutes. And at an exposure of 800 to 1,000 parts per million, as we would get in warfare, that's fatal within just several minutes. It's important to read.
So y'all hear that, right? Now, this is what we saw happening on that day. This is from somebody that was actually going through it.
Teresa Bowles joins us live now from the Burt Adams Boy Scout camp. This was in Covington where the Red Cross just arrived to help those neighbors out. Teresa?
Ron, emergency management just switched to this location 25 minutes away in Covington on Scout Road because they tell me the wind shifted and could blow that smoke in the direction of the previous location at Wolverine Gym. It's a shelter here, but the video of this fire is just amazing. Take a look. The video you're seeing is from Michaela down in Conyers right now. I can't get to her and she can't get to me because several streets are blocked. So Edwards and I video chatted within the last hour. She says she had no idea what was going on until her son called her and told her to stay home and close the windows. What you're seeing now is what she and others are seeing outside today. We've been getting an abundance of cell phone video and photos from viewers. Edwards says it was like a movie. She describes the clouds and her panic to create a safe space for her and her kids.
The sky is red. Like, oh my God, the sky is literally red. Something's wrong. So, of course, I freaked out inside. And I started closing all the vents and, trying to make sure everything is cut off.
So if you don't have a place to stay, the Red Cross is here at the dining hall at the Burt Adams Scout Camp with supplies. Live in Covington, Teresa Bowles, 11 Alive News.
All right. Welcome to 11 Alive News at 6. I'm Ron Jones. We're going to begin tonight with breaking news out of Rockdale County. A major chemical fire has now forced residents living in Conyers to evacuate. Check out this, a huge plume of smoke, as you can see. This is all taking place at a biolab facility on Old Covington Highway. And officials think a sprinkler malfunction around 5 o'clock this morning mixed with something called a water reactive chemical, which then sparked the fire. At first, crews thought they had it under control. However, just a few hours ago, it flared up again, and now even more people have been forced to evacuate their homes. And moments ago, officials say that they're waiting to see where the wind is going to blow that plume of smoke and hopefully push that cloud away from the Conyers neighborhoods.
It really depends on where the plume shifts to and what we get calculated back from their reading.
Any idea if this could affect school or work tomorrow?
As of right now, I really can't say that, but really depends on the weather. And when we get that report back from EPD, we'll be able to actually verify that.
11 Alive's Teresa Bowles joins us live now from the Burt Adams Boy Scout Camp. This was in Covington where the Red Cross just arrived to help those neighbors out. Teresa?
Ron, emergency management just switched to this location 25 minutes away in Covington on Scout Road because they...
All right, so let me show y'all what some of the people went through real quick. Remember everything that doctor said was the symptoms? Check this out.
We have the video of you in the hospital and you're clearly struggling. If we could show that, Colin. So when you were there, they gave you what, an inhaler?
So they gave me a they gave me a steroid shot in the arm and an X-ray. So I got an X-ray before the breathing machine, which was terrifying because
You see? So people did get affected by this. Yo. Yeah, they gotta hold them people accountable for that, man. I don't think nobody should be covering this up, especially when y'all heard the attorney say this has happened repeatedly. repeatedly, over and over. Come on, at what point don't this just look like blatant, just blatant negligence? I mean, at what point? Anyway, with that being said, Stampede family, I'm out.